making a lot of noise at AT&T Stadium.
Anything that moves between these lines, got to get dealt with.
10, 5, and he streaks in. Deep to the post to Lamb. At the 5, to the goal line.
Dallas Cowboys Game Night is presented by AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
The Cowboys' 3-game winning streak is now over. The Cowboys dealt a fatal blow to their possible playoff hopes. It's not the end of the line quite yet, but very close to it. As we welcome you in to Cowboys Game Night here from the Globe Life Studios at the Star in Frisco. 44-30, the final score from Ford Field in Detroit. Alongside Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Isaiah, this is one of those games you just had to have for the Cowboys. It felt like a playoff atmosphere, playoff lead-in on a Thursday night in front of the entire NFL world. However, the Cowboys get off to a slow start, ultimately find themselves down 27-9, and then tried to fight their way back, got within 3, but that wasn't enough to get it done in Detroit.
No, two teams walk into a building, both desperately needing a win in order to put themselves in a position to continue to fight for a playoff positioning. And one team just obviously wanted it more than the other. This came down to execution. This came down to will and determination. The Detroit Lions physically beat up the Dallas Cowboys. That's what you're going to see whenever you turn on the film and watch this one back. It wasn't matchups on the offensive side of the ball for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys lined up. They knew exactly where their guys were going to be. They couldn't get them blocked up. That's what you're going to see with the offensive line. You couldn't win those matchups up front, which now puts you in a position where you couldn't run the ball effectively, which didn't allow for you to sit back and run your play action game, which Dak does best. So what do you have to do? You have to drop back and pass the ball. Well, you didn't win those matchups either. Okay, both defensive ends were kicking the butts of our offensive tackles. On the defensive side of the ball, too much space. Our DBs got absolutely exposed tonight. The young DBs were completely exposed. Our safeties were playing against one of the fastest guys in the NFL. That was a complete mismatch. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was playing on one leg tonight, didn't practice all week long, came in and had a heck of a game along with Jahmyr Gibbs. This was, Brandon Aubrey couldn't kick enough field goals to win you a ball game tonight. And the Dallas Cowboys this one's gonna hurt for a long time.
6 plays of 25 yards or more. That's too much. You go on the road, you got to play better defense than that. A lot of times you was questioning why was they giving so much space to Jahmyr Gibbs when he's out there on the linebacker, or Jamison Williams, or Amar St. Brown. We should have tightened it up a little bit and pressed them a little bit more. That's just from my observation. They were the faster team. When you go through these many games, 4 games in 20 days, you have to be even, a little bit ahead. You can't always be chasing. That takes a lot out of you physically and mentally, and we did not win the matchup on our offensive line. Dak has been doing a sensational job, but tonight you was just asking too much. And then when we lost CeeDee Lamb, they went the air out of the team.
Yeah, a lot of storylines to go through in this one, and the highlights tell a bit of that story as we get into it. Of course, Dak Prescott and company on the road taking on Jared Goff at Ford Field. Dallas on a 3-game winning streak entering. Both teams trade field goals on their opening drive. Lions on the attack, though. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was questionable entering, works open and then takes off down the right sideline, breaking a couple tackles, gets inside the 10 and setting up the Lions for a touchdown run. Gibbs had his first touchdown of the day. It was 10-3 Detroit going into the second. After a Dallas field goal and a stop on 3rd down and long, Dak Prescott finds Jake Ferguson. He's trying to fight for extra yardage here, but he puts the ball on the turf. The fumble recovered by the Lions, and they would have short field again. This was a crucial turnover for Dallas in the early going. An opportunity to drive and take the lead. The score was just 10-6 at that point in time. However, Detroit would make them pay. David Montgomery breaks through the hole, breaks the tackle at the second level, and then he's off to the races. 35 yards out, David Montgomery scores. It's the Lions up 17-6. Both teams would hit field goals within the 2-minute timeout. It was an 11-point lead for the Lions at halftime. Opening play from scrimmage for the Dallas offense in the third quarter. It was a pass that they've run so many times, broken up on the target to George Pickens. Easy interception for Detroit as it was broken up by Amik Robertson. Derek Barnes with the pick. It took just 2 plays to capitalize on that mistake. Jared Goff finds it to Isaac Tesla. He's in the end zone for 6. Lions up 27-9, just 40 seconds in to the third quarter of action. Dallas would answer. Javonte Williams hits 1,000 yards on the season as he punches it in from 1 yard out. However, the Cowboys not clean on that drive either, because just a couple plays prior, CeeDee Lamb had to exit due to injury. They called it a concussion, ruled him out for the rest of the game. He was unavailable for the Cowboys for the entirety of the second half because of it. Special teams would step up, though, on the next Detroit drive. Jake Bates' field goal attempt blocked by Sam Williams. This keeps it at a 27-16 Lions advantage. Then Brandon Aubrey again, 63 yards out. He's been automatic. This 63-yarder would cut it to a single possession. Detroit, though, in the fourth quarter would keep their foot on the gas. No surprise about that in a Dan Campbell team, as they would increase their lead 30-16. Dallas would fight back, though. How about Ryan Flanoy as he works his way into the end zone from 42 yards out? This kept it within striking distance. And then here comes Jahmyr Gibbs again. Bounces around a couple tacklers. He drives into the end zone. 37-27. The Lions back up on top by 10. Dallas on the ensuing possession needed this conversion on 3rd down and 3 to cut it to a field goal. Instead, there's a penalty flag thrown, but it was on Jake Ferguson, though everyone in the building thought this was defensive pass interference. It was instead offensive pass interference on Ferguson. The ball placed, of course, 15 yards back. They had to settle for a field goal. They needed a stop then to avoid another 10-point lead. And there goes Jahmyr Gibbs one more time. He had 3 touchdowns on the game in this one. That was all it took for Dan Campbell and company to win at 44-30, the final score, as the Lions take down the Cowboys, handing them their first loss since before the bye week. It was a 14-point advantage as we look at the final stats brought to you by Miller Lite, and the Cowboys fall back to 500, 6-1 on the 2025 regular season. When we come back here on Cowboys Game Night, plenty to break down. We're going to talk about how the Cowboys' defensive alignments could have cost them this one in Motown.
This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Welcome back into Cowboys Game Night here from the Star in Frisco alongside Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Now, Isaiah, Nate said this a couple times in his breakdown in that opening segment. Soft coverage was played a significant portion of the time in this one. How much did that play a factor in this Cowboys defense struggling to slow down the Lions on offense and ultimately leading to 44 points on the board?
It was huge. It was huge. When you start factoring in the fact that you're playing against a team that has one of the best combo receiving threats in the league, you might want to get up there and put some hands on him. Jamison Williams, okay, yeah, he's one of the fastest guys in the league. Let's give him a little bit of space. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, coming off an ankle injury, you knew that he didn't practice all week long. I'm going to challenge him at the line of scrimmage. Okay, let me help you guys understand what I'm talking about. This is Amon-Ra St. Brown right here, okay? This is Jamison Williams. Right now, the man that's responsible for Jamison Williams is going to be right there, Siobhan Revel. All right, do you see any defender that is responsible for Amon-Ra St. Brown? Again, Amon-Ra St. Brown's right here. All right, I'm going to tell you where that guy's at. That guy is way back here. His name is Donovan Wilson. You can't even see him on the screen right now.
Oh.
Last time I checked, that is a long ways away. Donovan Wilson being responsible for Amon-Ra St. Brown. How many yards is that? 5, 10, at least 12 yards, because he's not even on the screen. So when we play this, if he's responsible for guarding Amon-Ra St. Brown on 1st and 10, pause it right there. Is he anywhere in the picture when we talk about getting a 5-yard catch? Nowhere in the picture. This is easy pass and catch from this quarterback to one of the league's best possession receivers, and you have nobody in the area. That is an easy pitch and catch. Catch it at 5 yards. He's one of the better yards after catch guys. Falls for another 2 yards. That turns a 1st and 10 to a 2nd and 3. Very manageable for any team. That was there all night long. That's just one of the many plays.
They were winning on 1st down, and they were playing in front of the chains. That kept the Cowboys defense on their heels. On the other side of the ball, let's take a look at the Detroit defense, a team that hasn't played a ton with the pressure. They haven't had a ton of pressure outside of Aiden Hutchinson, who's on the screen there as well. Where did they get the pressure in this game, and what happened in these different environments for Dak Prescott behind the line of scrimmage?
One-on-one matchups, Kyle. We knew that coming into this ball game, Detroit wasn't going to do anything elaborate defensively. You're going to be able to line up and know exactly who you're responsible for blocking. Dak Prescott's done an amazing job in the pocket, but on this particular play, there's only 3 down linemen. One. All right, let me get him. Where's my counter? Get my counter. 1, 2, 3 down linemen. How many offensive linemen do we have, Kyle?
5.
5 guys sitting up here blocking. So you got mano-a-mano. These guys are going to be in wide techniques. They're going to challenge you by going up the field, typically allowing Dak Prescott to do what? Allowing Dak Prescott to be able to step up in the pocket. Well, let's see what happens here. Both of our tackles get beat on this play. You're going to see both guys go upfield. Pause it right here. Right there. You see Aiden Hutchinson going outside, okay, challenging the upfield shoulder of Terrence Steele, and then wheeling back and coming back underneath. I'll tell you why here in a second. Akeem Muhammad, who used to be here in Dallas, goes up the field, challenges Nate Thomas, forcing Dak to do what? Dak wants to step up in the pocket in the scenario, but because Aiden Hutchinson challenged the upfield shoulder, he's spinning back. Now Dak, when he steps up, he's stepping up literally right into the hands of Aiden Hutchinson. He has nowhere to go. He can't sit back in the pocket. He also can't step up. Those are the 2 guys losing their one-on-one matchups. 2 guys beating our 5 guys collectively. Can't let it happen.
Not at all. And Muhammad finished with not 1, not 2, but 3 sacks against his former team that, of course, showed him the door at the end of training camp last season. He's put together a solid season for Dan Campbell in Detroit. Speaking of head coaches, when we come back here on Cowboys Game Night, we're going to hear from head coach Brian Schottenheimer as the Cowboys fall back to 6-6-6, and they see their playoff probability shrink ever so quickly. Cowboys lose in Detroit 44-30.
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
I don't know. We're just going to keep playing. We don't control who wins and loses. We just control what we can do. I'm really proud of the group. I told them that. 4 games, 17 days, battled their asses off. Proud of them. We knew tonight that it was going to come down to a couple things. We knew we had to take care of the football and take it away. We didn't do a very good job with that. And then we knew we had to win the trenches, and we didn't really do that. So I thought they played hard, gave up too many explosives. And then, of course, just couldn't. When we'd get a little momentum, we just couldn't get a stop. And so the complementary football wasn't what it's been over the last couple weeks. And when you play a good football team like this on the road, unfortunately, when you do that, it's going to be hard to win. Yeah, they're fast. We got guys that can run, too. I felt like we didn't tackle great. When they got in the perimeter a little bit, I thought they hurt us. We have to look at that. But it's an explosive football team. Thought, Goff played very, very well, but we just gave up too many explosives. Explosive run, Montgomery hits explosive run, big play, Jamison Williams after we made it, 1-score game. And, those are things that we have been doing over the last, 3 weeks, and we didn't do it tonight.
Clarence Hill, DLOS, was anything going on with Pickens? It seemed like he had the same energy tonight.
No, I don't think so. I want to look at it. I mean, he was being doubled. The minute CD went out, they just decided to play everything 2-man over there and try to double him and take him away. But I don't think so. Really proud of Flournoy, him stepping up. I thought CD before the injury was outstanding. We knew we'd hit some explosives, and unfortunately, we just, we weren't very good in the red zone. Kicked too many field goals, and against a team like this, you can't kick field goals.
Yeah, 2 crucial offensive pass interference.
You can watch all of Coach Schottenheimer's press conference on DallasCowboys.com. He mentioned C.D. Lamb exiting due to injury. We break down the impact of that next.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Not the day the Dallas Cowboys had envisioned in Detroit. 44-30 the final score. Back alongside Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Now, guys, CeeDee Lamb exiting in the middle of the third quarter was a large loss for the Cowboys, especially the way that he was playing prior to the injury. Over 120 yards total. Of course, he was in the end zone when the injury occurred. Isaiah, you had talked about it when we were watching live. You didn't believe it was a concussion to see. We'll, of course, see what the official report is and what it turns out to be at the end of it all. But he was ruled out the rest of the game and did not return. How big of a loss was that for this Cowboys team?
It's big, man, because a lot of the success that Dallas has had offensively has been predicated on the fact that you have CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens equally dangerous on both sides of the field. Now, all of a sudden, when you remove one of those contributors, now you go back to a traditional offense in which you can double team the main receiver and then everybody else just play coverage. Ryan Flanoia was a benefactor of that today because obviously they said, okay, we'll take away George Pickens. You prove it to us that you can make some plays. So he took advantage of that by going on getting 115 yards on 9 catches. But other than that, George Pickens didn't do much. He didn't create much separation. Balls that were contested, he didn't win those battles. There was a couple times where he kind of alligator armed it because he didn't seemingly want to get hit and take the big hits for those contested catches. I felt like there was a missed opportunity for Jake Ferguson today in a base defense to beat Anzalone, who's the linebacker. Mm-hmm. If there's ever a time to go to your number 1 tight end, who's one of the highest paid tight ends in the league, it's tonight where you have a linebacker face against him all day long.
This is where you have to come up big when one of your star players is down. And that's why I believe that CeeDee Lamb and Pickens go 1 and 2 together. Yep. So when you miss that right there, I'm in agreement with you. I said you have to go to your tight end because he is a better athlete than the linebacker, than the average linebacker.
And that's the thing is when you got a guy like that out, the whole offense has been predicated on multiple weapons. You needed George Pickens to step up. He was double covered and helped over the top. There were a lot of things that were game planned against George Pickens in this game, and it really did take him away at the end of the conversation. When we come back, we're going to talk about the learning lessons that this Cowboys team needs to take into the mini bye week. They get a bit of a time off. How can they utilize that to their advantage?
To watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Dallas Cowboys Game Night was presented by AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
Cowboys fall at Ford Field, 44-30, the final score. Welcome back into Cowboys Game Night from the Globe Life Studios. Wrapping things up alongside Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. All right, Isaiah, it's a mini bye for the Cowboys. They've got 4 games left. How do they win all 4 and at least give them a slight chance to make something happen?
It's no different than it was before this game. You got to go out there and watch the film, address everything that you need to go ahead and correct. And then from that point forward, go out there and win and execute. Win your matchups, execute whatever the coach's game plan is, and try to come out with a W.
Finish the season as healthy as you can, and that way it gives you a chance to win, to be who you need to be. So make sure you get in that whirlpools, get that ice on you, spend a lot of time over here watching film, and just stay ultra focused and look faster.
I'm not going to ask about playoff hopes, but do you feel like it's possible that the Cowboys could run the table here with the schedule that's in front of them with 4 games remaining?
I do. I think that they're going to have the biggest challenge obviously would be the Chargers, not because of their record, but because of how physical they are and how big they are. Outside of that, I think that they're in a really good position to win out.
As long as you stay ultra focused, I think you have a chance.
And that's ultimately what's going to happen. You got to have the wins against Washington and the Giants at the end of the year. You've got a chance to defeat the Chargers. That's one more final benchmark for your football team. All of those things playing a factor across the board. And I think for that point, you really do have a team that can end with 10 wins at the end of the year. 10-6-1 when this team started at 3-5-1 still sounds pretty good, but your playoff hopes may have been dashed a fatal blow in this one. That's going to do it for us here for Cowboys Game Night. Once again, the Cowboys fall to the Detroit Lions, 44-30, the final score. For Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you next week with more Cowboys Game Night.